This video is brought to you by words I can't say on YouTube, but I'm definitely thinking in my head because I just checked the weather and it's supposed to freeze tonight. We're supposed to get down to 0 and there's a risk of frost, and where I am, if there's a risk of frost, I'm probably gonna get a frost. And look, I have all of this garden behind me that's all gonna die, and I'm not gonna let that happen. So I'm out here, I'm gonna salvage out some of my crops, like my tomatoes, and I'm also going to be putting protection on all these beautiful fall greens because I'm not letting winter come and steal them from me. There's a few things like my leeks here that I was really hoping I'd be able to get a little bit more time out of them. You know, they were so compromised because I got them in so late, and then it was really hot for them. They kind of only started to put on any like growth in the last month, and you know, if I could have gotten 2 more weeks, the size would have been a lot nicer. But you know, I'll take baby leeks over no leeks. So these are gonna come out and I'm gonna get them into storage and use them up. Another thing I definitely need to do something with is my tomatoes. They've really slowed down. They like the heat, and the cold weather isn't their favorite, but they're loaded with green tomatoes, and if I leave them on here and they get frozen, then I'll just lose them. So I need to actually pick them all off the plants and get them inside. But after I do that, I still have this full garden of all these fall crops, stuff that's actually really happy. It can't handle it freezing and the hard frost. So I really need to do something for this. I'm gonna be creating some permanent cover for some of the stuff that I think is gonna last over the winter, and then some of the things like the radishes and the turnips here, I am going to tarp them over for the night so the frost can't settle on them and kill them, in hopes that they can grow just a little bit more before I crop them out. This year was a bit of a lost cause on our peppers and eggplants. They got really stunted not getting into the ground when I wanted them to, and they also didn't get the heat that they like. Last year I grew them inside my greenhouse, and that just was that extra kick of heat over the summer made a huge difference for the production. And this year, you know, we dropped down to just getting a few off of each plant. But I've recently seen that you can actually try overwintering your plants, and that gives you a head start in the following year. So I'm interested to see if this actually works as well for me here in Canada, where it's actually cold, as I've seen it work for a few other people online. It seems like a lot of people are doing it have like a shorter dormancy period, like people in California, where they're just kind of, you know, into the garage for a couple months, whereas for me, things need to be protected for quite a while. So give it a try. You know, it's a little bit of time to do it, but it's not, you know, I'm not losing anything other than, you know, a couple hours it'd take to throw these into a pot in the garage. So it's worth the experiment. feel like I've made no progress. I've been working steady for 45 minutes and I'm freezing, so I'm gonna go inside and have a cup of tea and have a bit of a warm up before coming back at it again. Hello. Did you?
It is Canada and we blinked, so summer's over. Never lasts very long, even for one of the warmer places in Canada like Kelowna. We got a emergency frost warning for tonight, so it's been all hands on deck trying to get tomatoes harvested and something to cover all of our greens with, because we were thinking we had another 2 weeks still. Oh, what's this guy doing?
What are you doing?
He just ran across the field and jumped on Serena. She's chopping tomatoes right now, and
we're running out of light.
Yep.
We're running out of time. We still don't have anything covered yet.
It's not just like end of summer cold out right now. It's actually like seriously cold out.
Well, I know I'm worried because it's not even so much frost that is the issue. It's like it's gonna get cold enough even just for freezing is what the weather report is for tonight. So, you know, we need that cover for insulation as well as frost protection.
Oh.
I ran out of sunlight really quickly yesterday, so I ended up putting a bunch of tarps out in the middle of the night when it was all dark, so I didn't get any footage. Now that I'm out here, it doesn't really look like there's any frost on the stuff that stayed unexposed, but I gotta get these tarps off or else it's gonna cook all my greens underneath there. So, you know, hopefully there's no damage under there as well.
Hey, I was gonna make that joke.
For the tarps, you need to get them to stay down a little bit. So what we did is we actually used our tomato cages that were just in the garden to stake the tarps down. This time we had these long pieces of rebar kicking around because we're actually going to be building some poly low tunnels. Stay tuned. But what we did is we staked these in to be support for the tarp. But in the past, when I do this, because I'm usually not doing them on such a large scale, I take my tomato cages and I stake it in, and then I'll take sheets and I'll just lay like blankets and sheets over top of the tomato cages to keep them off the plants and keep my plants from getting frosted. Last night in the dark, I kept bashing into these as we were trying to put the tarps on, so not necessarily the best technique to use this, but it did hold them up quite well. And then it didn't hold them up super high. The rebar actually hung down a little bit with the weight of the tarp, which is good for these greens crop because they need to get blanketed so the frost can't settle onto it. But the higher up the coverage, the more tarp you need basically, and this was a lot of garden to do this technique too. We do have a little bit of damage in the garden here, but the damage is actually from Ian and I stepping on things as we were trying to get stuff covered in the dark. That damage there isn't actually from the frost. I'm happy that we didn't lose anything in the garden. There is one change that is very fall-like that I've seen, and that is across the hill from us. There was not very much fall color, and this morning, you know, the trees are blazing, so I get some prettiness.